How's it going, man?
Hey, good. How are you?
Great, great.
Hey Mark, how are you? Thanks for the time.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully I can help a little bit or do whatever we need to do.
Yeah, man. Just wanted to hop on and kind of pick your brain. I'll introduce myself first, and I'll let Steve introduce himself, and then probably pass it over to you, and we can get rolling. So Cole Northrup, I was the one that was DMing you through QB DNA, and like Steve said, greatly appreciate you taking the time to hop on and kind of let us pick your brain. I played at Lafayette College out in the Patriot League, so on the East Coast, not necessarily the West Coast.
They had a good year.
What'd you say?
Didn't they have a good year last year?
They had a good year. They ended up getting beat in the final game by Lehigh for the Patriot League title, but they ranked top 25 at one point and that kind of stuff. So and then played briefly at William and Mary under Coach London out there in the CAA. So
Who was
now
your
down
OC?
here, go ahead.
Who was your OC?
OC was, oh my goodness, Coach Taylor, who's now the
Yeah.
OC at Wyoming. Yeah,
Yeah, Christian Taylor. He's awesome.
yeah, he's awesome. He spent some time with the Bills the last couple of
Yeah.
years. So my QB coach at the time is now the QB coach out at Utah State. So
Okay.
a lot of guys going west, but a lot of fun. But now back down here in Jacksonville, Florida, training some guys, and Steve is up in Wisconsin, and he's got some guys up there. So just really
Okay.
trying to get you on and be able to pick your brain, like I said, around the stuff that you guys look for at Eastern Washington,
Sure.
and kind of go from there. But Steve, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yo, Mark, Steve Opkenorth, 18-year college coaching vet, Division two, Division three. Hopped out of it to be a little bit better father and hopped myself into pharmaceuticals, which has been an interesting transition. But I did start the quarterback training piece, and after the first year, kind of knowing the platform, appreciate what Cole had done with QB DNA. Has some really high quality people that are doing it for the right reasons, the right way, with some character behind it. So have enjoyed the heck out of the platform. Super impressed to help and assist Cole on the evaluation, college coaching perspective background. And again, do appreciate your time.
Yeah. Yeah, being a dad and a husband's like man, it's a challenge.
What you
It's
do
hard.
is impressive, man. And after 18 years, you come to those crosswords. It's a balance. So being the better father is the route that I took now, but
Yeah,
I'd
I
be
respect it.
most of the time I'd be rather sitting in your shoes.
Yeah, you asked my wife, I don't know if she'd call it impressive, but
Amen, brother.
we try.
Yep. Yep.
Well, cool.
Go ahead, Mark. I'll let you introduce yourself.
No, yeah. Mark Anderson, obviously the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach here. I've been here longer than I was in my hometown. So I've been here since 2010. Um, didn't play college football. I was a high school mediocre 5'10" and a half quarterback, not a lot of demand for them. So I came to school here, realized like I missed football and missed being around it. So I emailed the head coach at the time, Bo Baldwin, and said, "Hey, like, can I help? Like, you got a pro day coming up. You got to like whatever, I'll help." And he miraculously he emailed back and said, "Yeah, come by the office." And so I did video and film. Like I was in the tower filming practices and games, did all the back end stuff. I was the DFO for like 5 years, the operations guy, and then our tight ends coach left during COVID, so I got on the field coaching tight ends. Did that for 4 or 5 years under Ian Shoemaker, who's now at Idaho, and Jim
Yep.
Chapin, who's at Central Michigan, and obviously learned a ton from those guys. They're both incredible. Hopefully, Shoe's not that incredible when we play them, but they're both incredible coaches and people. And when Coach Chapin went to Central Michigan, got the opportunity to be the coordinator. So um, kind of cool. Both all three of our, well, all four, I guess, of our coordinators and our head coach. So OCDC, special teams, and our head coach are all alums, which is pretty unique. And it's been a great spot for me. And I thought I'd be coaching high school football, basketball, baseball. That's what I got my degree in, was high school teaching. And life took me a little bit of a different route. So it's been good.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome
Yeah.
being able to be just outside Spokane for a while.
Yeah.
It's a great
No
area of the
doubt.
country too.
No
So
doubt. Yeah. It's beautiful over here.
so I'll kind of kick things off, and Steve, feel free to kind of jump in wherever you want. But so, Coach, when you start, we'll kind of jump in on the recruiting side, to start. when you're looking at quarterbacks from a high school perspective, are you guys? I know you guys took a quarterback this past class.
Yeah.
Are you guys looking at bringing in a lot of high school quarterbacks? Are you trying to go more in the transfer portal side? Talk me through how that has kind of changed over the past couple of years and what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Yeah, very interesting. We've had a couple JUCO guys here. Mike Wortham, Jared Taylor, that Coach Chapin recruited, and I think there's a ton of benefit to junior college guys. They're more appreciative of the opportunities typically than 4-year guys, and they're a little bit more of a piece of clay still to be able to mold. But I tell guys on the phone, like ideally, we would never sign a transfer. Like I would love to have a pipeline of high school kids that is kind of in the developmental phase of it, and be prepared to take over when your time comes. And I think we like to carry a lot of offense. I don't think it's too much, but we're pretty multiple. And what we ask the quarterback to do, like probably regardless of system, I've only kind of been in this one for a long time, but regardless of system, you got to be able to master the offense. And I just that doesn't happen by taking transfer guys. Like Bo Levi Mitchell in 2010 was a post spring transfer way back before the portal was even a thing, and obviously he had a great career. But I think nowadays taking a transfer and asking him to come in and run it at a high level year one is really tough. Like I would love just to continue to recruit high school guys and develop those, and then if they leave early on the back end, then that is what it is, and hopefully they're making life changing money if they make that decision. But ultimately would love to continue to recruit high school guys and not have to deal with 4 years because
Sure.
they probably left because they're not playing. Well, we're asking them to come in and compete and not guaranteeing them a job. I just think there's a lot of challenges with that.
Yeah, absolutely. From a high school perspective, when you're looking through these guys, what are the kind of the two characteristics that are probably the most important on your end from a let's start from a soft skill standpoint that you value the most in the guys that you evaluate?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two things that jump out are well, obviously arm talent first, like that's, and accuracy is probably more important, but what jumps out first is arm talent. And then, I think the athleticism in some form or fashion, being able to make one guy miss is, kind of the baseline. But, how well does it pop off his hand? How can he make every throw in the offense? I think that's ultimately, there's a lot of good high school quarterbacks that can't do that. So on the tape, like, I think those are probably the two first things that jump out. And then you dive into the accuracy and you dive into some of those things and one thing that I'm keying in on more now is like, I don't know if somebody told every high school quarterback that they need more movement clips on their tape or something. Um, but I'm finding like I don't think enough guys show enough clips from the pocket and working through something, working through a progression. You see a lot of there were multiple guys this year that was like, yeah, he makes off schedule plays, but like, and he reacts to stuff. That's great, but I'd love to see him throw from the pocket and work through it.
Sure, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, from a throw perspective, when you're evaluating these guys on film, are there specific ones that you're looking for? You're like, hey, I'd love to see a big deep post, or hey, I want to see you take a 3-step no hitch out route. Like
Yeah.
what are the kind of ones that you really keen in on?
Yeah. I mean, field outs or whether it's like a true sail or whatever the route might be, whether it's shorter or longer. Like seeing a field out is big. That's a big in-person eval. And you got to remember to cut the high school hashes down to the college hashes when you do that. But and then digs are a huge one. Like, can we see him driving something at 15 yards over the middle? Like I think you can get in trouble a little bit watching deep balls, and it comes out great, and then the guy can't get over it and drive something at 15 yards. I think that's probably the one that
College,
either I leave the
Oberlin College
okay,
in
yeah, yeah,
Ohio. So I was there for 3 years. Just wanted kind of a challenge that was as challenging as you get in college football. Uh, and then had an opportunity to take an off-field position at Army West Point uh, with Monk, and that was where taking the move. It was uh, my wife wasn't going to move to Highland Falls, so I give
yeah,
it a run for a little bit as a 40-year-old single guy with two kids, and it was quickly known that either I'm gonna head back and figure this out outside of what you're doing, or probably stay single
yeah,
for a
yeah.
while for the next 20 years. So no regrets, fun run. Funny being in the quarterback training world because I despised it, as a college coach.
Right.
But I was the OC at Baldwin Wallace, and I get a call from Drew Aller's dad, who was 5 minutes down the road. He's like, "Hey, I got this kid. I think he's pretty good, but I have no idea what to do with him." So I'm like, "Yeah, I'll hang out with Drew Aller for a while when he's in eighth, ninth, and 10th grade." And it was fun, and
Yeah.
because of Drew, it grew to like 8 to 10 committed kids in Northeast Ohio. Um, and then as you take a head job, you can't do that anymore.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So he got handed off, he got handed off to Brad Mandler, and it exploded, because of his talent. So I got
Yeah.
a chance to know Brad. I still stay in touch with Drew and a couple of those kids. Like, do you believe what started at 13, 14 years old is
Yeah.
where it's at now? So I've always, because of that story, and then knowing what Brad's done, I was intrigued by, can you coach it and enjoy it? And I really have. It's given me my fix,
Right.
2, 3 days a week outside of selling pharmaceutical drugs.
Do you know Matt Ulrich?
Oh, really well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was with
Yeah.
us. He's in Toledo now, but he was with us a few years ago at D-line. So I've heard
One
all
of the
about
best,
the
one of the
SIC.
best, one of the best people um, I've met. I was there. I coached him. I knew him as a player.
Yeah.
And then as he wanted to get into coaching, just kind of watched and followed him. He was at Notre Dame College
Yeah.
when I was at Baldwin Wallace. He was right down the road, and
Yeah.
outstanding human being
Yeah.
and
He's
pretty damn good
phenomenal.
player back in the day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've heard.
I no doubt. What are you guys doing offensively? Multiple? You spread,
Yeah.
gun, kind
11
of type of
personnel
stuff.
spread, pretty multiple. We
Yep.
lean probably more 12 than we do 10. Um, Forwards mesh spacing in the pass game, outside zone duo power in the run game, and then a ton
Yep.
of obviously variations and everything off it. But
All
we're trying to
gas.
under center this year. We're
I was
trying to
gonna
get under
Giddy
say,
up.
center.
yeah,
How
there you
about it?
go.
We were running an under center stretch yesterday, and then booed off it, and our O line head coach was pretty fired up.
How about it? Nice.
That's awesome,
It all
especially
comes
as
back
maybe
around,
12
man.
personnel there. Get them
It all
going,
comes
get the
back
hogs
around.
going.
Yeah, no doubt.
Is that kind of some stuff that you guys, when you look for on film, coach, are you looking for guys to be under center maybe now that you guys are, starting to dip your toe in there? Or is it more like, hey, like we get so much gun film from these high school guys, we're just
Yeah.
gonna kind of go from there and roll?
Yeah, and I think like if you recruit athletes, right? Like if you don't recruit big stiff kids and like non-athletes, and that's a tough, so many guys in Southern California are like just quarterbacks, and they don't play multiple sports. I think you'd love to have multiple sport guys, at least guys competing year round in some form or fashion. But finding guys like if you recruit athletes, then I don't think they have a problem getting under center, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's just so different than it was even like 10 years ago, right?
No
Like
doubt.
there's not a lot of guys that are under center anymore or can do that
No.
kind of stuff, right? And then
No.
you look at the
Yeah.
NFL and it's like, yeah, I just watched Caleb Williams take a 7-step drop and throw a post route from under center, right? And against that, in that playoff game against Green Bay. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just it's like this is the stuff that you got to have all the tools in the toolbox.
No doubt.
So when you say, the kind of the athletes, do you have a profile of a quarterback that you'd like to have? Like, hey, I'd love to have him be 6'2", 200 pounds coming in. Maybe he runs 4'6". Like, what's kind of your guys' measurable? Or is it kind of like, hey, across the board, it's more about how he, throws the ball and understands the game and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the traits are more important than the size. For us at least, like we have a 5'10" guy that led us in rushing last year. That's a whole different story. We had to run him too much because of a few issues, but yeah, the 5'10" kid that started 6 games and is competing for the job right now. And then we have a 6'3" kid that, so I think it's kind of it's more of a sliding scale of traits than anything. The kid we signed out of Southern California is 6'1", 190, which is probably and a pretty good athlete, pretty good passer, and that's probably the wheelhouse. But I think you're willing to sacrifice on it a little bit if the traits are that outstanding.
Sure. So the kid you signed, that Brady and that out of
Yeah.
California, how do you kind of get on your radar? What was the things that he did that really impressed you guys as a staff? And maybe if you're willing to walk us through kind of how that process went, we'd love to know.
Yeah, he was kind of different because we both ended up on each other late. He was hurt after his junior year, so he didn't throw a ton in the spring and summer. And usually like, we use the tape to drive who we're gonna go see in the spring or who I'm gonna go see in the spring. Then fly around, see him all in person. We don't offer before we see him throw in person, which sometimes hurts us, in terms of, you know, everybody wants an offer and some schools are willing to shotgun them out there, but I think
Sure.
it helps us sign the right guys um, and not get fooled by a highlight tape or even by game film. But Brady, we ended up looking for a quarterback late. We had a commit for a long time. He decommitted the day before signing day. So then, yeah, which was 6 month process anyway. Committed for 6 months and then dumped us, but ultimately ended up in a really good spot because I think Brady's a heck of a player and high ceiling. And I went back to the drawing board at that point, and he had been a junior film guy that we liked, but I wasn't able to see him throw because he was hurt. Went back to the senior film, and I was like, oh, this kid like put together a really really good year. Um, and I think stats can play into that, like looking up completion percentages. Now that a lot of things affect that in high school, you might have a bunch of 5'10", 205 pound old linemen. Um, you might have terrible receivers. I don't know, but
Sure. Sure.
um, a lot of factors go into that. But he's like a 68% passer or something, and kind of blew me away with the senior tape. So got on him late, and then really really happy with the type of player he is, kind of able to do both in our offense.
Absolutely. When he came on campus, did you guys sit him down and go on the board, right? Like, did you guys test his mentals? Like, what do you guys do at Eastern Washington to kind of
Yeah,
say, like, hey, does this kid know ball, or is he more of just a gamer and we got to teach him that?
yeah, that's actually something I'm gonna do a better job of implementing in the spring recruiting period. Carving out time to get on the board with guys and have us, have them walk us through their offense, or at least their base plays. And yeah, we got him on the board when we were here, and you could tell he's pretty sharp right away. Being able to remember stuff that I had installed, usually I install and then have them talk through some plays and then ask him about our plays. And he could put that back up and put it together pretty good and then walk us through his stuff. I think it's kind of an underrated part of it. Like you can't take too many projects. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like there's a lot of exciting kids, but ultimately, like I don't know, you gotta have productive guys. And I think the three we got now are pretty productive in high school. Brady's super productive in high school. You're gonna take a flyer on a guy every now and then, but um, I don't think you can't have too many of those.
Steve, I'll let you jump in if you have any questions.
Yeah, Mark, the camp circuit, has changed so much over the
Yeah,
course of the past decade.
it's
In our
crazy.
role now, coaches or kids, parents, hey, what camps, can you give some insight about what that looks like on your end? Going to evaluate what camps you'll focus in on. And then once you see a quarterback that maybe you knew about in the spring, you knew about in their sophomore, junior tape, what are you looking for at some of those camps around the country?
Yeah. I don't I don't mean to rag on camps or anything. I've gotten kind of away from relying on camps as evals. Like there's a couple big ones that we go to. We go to the Redlands camp in Southern California, which is like really well ran and they're phenomenal. You don't get the one-on-one time, right? And you don't get to see, I don't know, 30 throws. Like you're seeing four throws and trying to find them on a field somewhere. And I put a ton of emphasis and value on the individual workouts that I can do in the spring. And those are the guys I prioritize to see in person. But when it gets to camp time, we tell guys go to camps with multiple colleges. Like it's tough if you go to and we have our camps, so this is kind of a tough conversation, but it's tough to go to one school camp. Go to a showcase with multiple eyes on you, especially if you don't know if you're going to be an FBS guy or an FCS guy or a Division two, Division three. And if you're, as you know, a D2, D3 guy, that's not a bad thing. Like there's a lot of good quarterbacks and not a lot of spots. Um, but I think, going to those showcases and then we encourage guys to get ahead of the game in camps. So like I invite a bunch of this year 28s up to our camp to kind of get initial eyes on them and like, man, I really like that kid at camp and his junior film is really good when it comes out in the fall. Or, I liked him and his junior film wasn't good or whatever it might be. But that can, add to the eval. And then when you're at the camp, you're looking for obviously how they compete and are they first in line and all that stuff. Um, I think the timing with camp receivers is an interesting part. Like you can see some natural accuracy there. Uh, like they're not in tune with them. Obviously, you're getting a random guy in line every time. Like how naturally their depth perception and all that, like how naturally accurate are they? So that's one thing to take away from camps.
No,
Coach,
I appreciate that.
is there a sticking point that maybe at camps like while you're watching, these QBs that you don't know, where you were like immediately you can just check them off and be like, he's not my kind of guy, right? Like,
I
is
think,
it through
yeah,
the warm-ups or how they conduct themselves? Like, would love to kind of know that.
yeah. I think like more and more the repeatable release. You get the dreaded like wrist drop and all that stuff, but like, is it a smooth, repeatable release? Like, can I watch this guy throw every day? A little selfishly. Um, and then some in the recruiting process. I don't know if it happens as much at camps, but I'm very big on the kid that I'm coaching, right? Like the kid that I'm going to sit in a room with for however many hours a day. Part of him reaching his ceiling and developing as much as he can is his relationship with me, obviously, but how we work together. And that's football wise, but that's really relationship wise too. Like, how well do we get along? Can I have a conversation with them and hold a conversation? Are they like, I don't love divas and, well, my quarterback trainer said this or whatever it might be. Like, I think there's absolutely a place for quarterback training because I can't do the fundamentals. I can't hone in on stuff for an hour a day. I got, a whole offense to teach and
Sure.
um but like how well can we work together? I think is a bigger and bigger thing for me.
Is there now you're going to get us into the quarterback training side of things, just out of selfishness.
Yeah.
Like, is there a wish or want you had that the quarterback training piece that those trainers that might be in Northwest in the Northwest United States or just generally you're like, man, I really wish they did more of this, or man, I really wish kids would do more with their quarterback trainer in this manner or less, right? Like maybe we're missing the piece. Would love that feedback on
No,
your
yeah, I don't necessarily think so. And I don't think it's a trainer problem. Like Danny and Fish and some of those guys in California like they're awesome and they do a phenomenal job. The 3D guys and like it's great. I think the problem becomes more on the kids' end, like, hey, well, my trainer told me this. Like, well, yeah, but your trainer's not here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's not a trainer
exactly.
problem. That's a kid problem and the type of kid you're recruiting. So I think staying away from that as much as possible. I think there's a ton of benefit to the training and because like I said, I can't go out and coach an hour of fundamentals and technique every day. That's just not possible. And the year-round development. And I think a lot of guys do a good job of teaching them football. So I think there's a ton of benefits to that. I think the problem becomes more the
Yeah. How
kid
would you
being
see
stubborn about it.
for
Yeah.
sure? Steve, I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, Mark, the quarterback room I miss. It's unique beyond belief.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be the guy, on day one. And I think teaching high level elite high school quarterbacks that is only a help through the development phase, but understanding what college football might look like. Can you give us a deep dive into the quarterback room at Eastern Washington and what
Yeah.
you see out of some of those kids that aren't the guy at 18, but they're going to be really good by the time they
Yeah.
develop, hop into a system, and they know it back to front by a junior year.
Yeah. I think last year is fortunately and unfortunately an example I'll use for the rest of my life. We had a senior captain that was a starter and the two younger guys, especially Nate Bell, who ended up starting for 6 games. He ended up being the backup going in the year, but he was like having a heck of a camp. And I think, when you have two good ones, and we have that right now with Jake and Nate, like we have two guys that are playing at a really high level, and that can be challenging, right? But I tell people it's less of a challenge than having none, like I'd rather have that problem than nobody playing well. Um, so, last year we had the starter and he was a captain and Nate and Jake were playing pretty well in camp. Um, Jared, the starter, goes down at Boise, got concussed and like carted off and all this stuff. It's pretty wild. And then Nate went in and played for 6 games, got an AC sprain. Jake came in, who's a redshirt freshman at the time. His first start, he throws for 450 in Missoula, number 2 team in the country. Um, and then he gets hurt, and the true freshman walk on, who we brought in to be a situational runner, Like, hey, we're telling him like, hey, you're gonna run like quarterback duo, like that's gonna be your jam. And he's playing scout team tight end 2 weeks before, and he ended up having to start the last game against Cal Poly. Um, so I think like to your point, even if you're not the guy game one, like how ready can you be? Like we could throw you out there, but how ready are you? Um, and unfortunately, last year was an example of like I almost needed to be ready. Um, so yeah, it's pretty wild.
What do you see as the biggest jump they make, coach, from maybe their freshman year to their sophomore year? Maybe it takes a little bit longer, like you said, it takes some time in your offense to learn it. Like, is it speed of the game? Is it just get used to the college life? Like, how can they better prepare themselves that senior year of high school to be ready to go as much as they can be within reason,
Yeah,
for what they're about to experience with you guys?
yeah, like we say it takes kind of 3 installs to really get it down, like 3 sessions of installs, and we install year round as much as we can because of that. So we've started with Brady, right, and hopping on Zooms and doing that stuff and talking ball. Um, the biggest jump is the mastery of the offense, right, and like how it all fits together. And I think the we don't talk a ton of coverage early on. Like basically, here's the progression families and the RPO families, and you go in and get your eyes to the right spot. Um, but then, as they get older, I think the coverage component kind of sinks in with them, and being able to identify stuff pre-snap and confirm it post-snap. And I think that's probably the biggest jump you see them make. And like young guys, when we call RPOs, they just want to pull and throw the RPO, and teaching them the run game. Like that was a big jump for a couple guys in the room this offseason that are maybe going in their second or third year. Is like, oh yeah, we're RPOing this guy, and I got to manage the run game and handle that conflict player. And so I think just the complete mastery of the offense, which is why development's so important. And it's a bummer that it's not, it's not as much of a developmental industry as it used to be.
Sure.
Although we still try to be a developmental program.
Steve, what are your thoughts? What do you got?
Yeah, pre-snap progression, coach. I'm just interested, like, part of our role, I think, as a quarterback trainer, don't involve, and for me, it's like, don't involve the offense, the schematics, right? Just coach the position. But I do like kind of leaning on an acronym of SAC, safeties, alley defenders, corners, no down and distance game situation. What is that pre-snap kind of plan? What can a young quarterback add to his repertoire early to understand what he should see of coverages and just kind of the complexity of college football?
Yeah, we talk obviously we talk safety, the coverage contour, and we talk corner leverage and eyes. One thing we've leaned into a lot is the box structure, right? So like if you get a boss look, it's potential safety insert. So they're showing middle open, but it ain't middle open, right? And that's been something that's showed up a bunch the first couple of days. And you'll see a split safety look, and the boundary safety ends up coming down, and we pull and throw the glance or whatever it is in pretty good timing. And you ask them like, hey, like what gave you that? And they say, hey, it was a boss look, like the box told me that was going to happen. So we say the safety's lie, box doesn't. And that's been, I think, a big jump that they're probably, you talked about like in college, they're probably not used to talking about a ton before they get here. Like, why would I look at linebackers type of deal? Um,
Right.
but I think that's a big thing that we do, and I think it's been a big benefit for those guys.
Steve, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, I think for me, the one thing I miss, Mark, is recruiting through the progress, 12 months, 24 months, and having your top two or three guys on campus. You talked about what you would do to get them on board, but what are some of the intangibles that is the ultimate, ace on I'm going to take this kid, no matter his height, his film, but what are the characteristics out of some successful quarterbacks you've had at Eastern Washington roll through?
Yeah, I don't, I mean, a lot of people talk about it. I don't really know how to describe it. There's like there's almost like like a magnetic field around them, right? They've just got it. You're like, whether it's the tape or in person, you're like, dude, I just really like this kid. Like, I know he doesn't have the best this or that. But man, like I love watching him play. I think he's just got a good feel for it, and I love him in person. And there's plenty of guys we see every year that like man, I couldn't stand the kid in person, like he's just
Right.
got the dead fish handshake or he won't look you in the eyes or whatever it might be. But I think there's just something about those guys. And that, Brady was that way. We're on the phone, when we got the decommit and I called him and I said, hey, like this might happen. We ended up talking for like an hour. And I think that easy flowing conversation was like, oh, when he throws a pick and he comes to the sideline, like we can have this same type of conversation. Um, and I think, that relationship translates well into the on-field stuff. So I'm obviously big on who the kid is. And is he the guy in high school and all those things too, but like how well do we interact? Does he have kind of that it factor about him? And then is the tape just like, yeah, dude, I love watching this guy play.
Coach, when Brady got on your radar, was it through your staff? Was it, somebody that had him in the area? Was it him just DMing you, nonstop?
Yeah.
Like, how did you even get to know who he was in general?
Yeah. He showed up on some list early on. But then the area recruiter was like, hey, they keep talking about this kid. Like, you should revisit him. And then, I think the DMs is a slippery slope.
Sure.
Um, I sometimes I joke around and show my buddies like, dude, these are my unread. Like, I don't follow them. They just blasted something out, and they're like, no way. Like, people do that. Yeah, no, they do that. So I think the email is worse than DMs. The constant barrage of DMs is a little overwhelming. One thing that I think guys can do to help in high school, like I love ground level video, and not on the point 0.5 lenses or whatever it is, but like ground level throwing video. Like that's whether they're posting it or sending it. I ask guys all the time, like, hey, you got any ground level you can send me? Because I can get a jump start on the in-person eval.
From
So I
an
think it's
in,
super valuable.
from an in-person eval, coach, like what are you looking for? I know you said you like the out routes, the digs, how it comes off his
Yeah.
hand. Is there anything else that you really, really value that you're like, man, I'd love to see him do this? I'll let you go.
We usually end with like a, 50-yard take post and or however far they can get it, put it on the snap it from the 50 and see how far they can go. I like to let them like, hey, just throw your route tree. Like whatever you're comfortable with, go throw it. And then you can kind of see like, all right, this is stuff they're comfortable with and they should be clicking and all that. And then kind of get off script after that and do stuff that like, hey, have you ever thrown a field out route? No. Okay, well, here we go.
Sure.
But
Has
I think it's those are the two big ones, like the big kid check boxes, like can you make the opposite hash throw and can you drive something over the middle and hit them in stride and in timing and all that.
has it gotten harder, like in the sense of now with NIL and guys, being a little bit more probably of a turnstile on a college roster, like just needing to keep them there, or if they go and they have other opportunities. Has that affected your ability to recruit high school guys? Has that limited the amount of time that you're able to spend with high school guys since you're trying to keep your current quarterback room intact? Yeah, how has that kind of played a factor?
I think it's actually helped the amount of talent that is in high school. Like we talk in recruiting all the time. We kind of have different problems on 5 years ago. We can take a flyer on them now because they're looking for a guy that's done it at a high level. Quarterback wise, I think there's still a bunch of good, high school quarterbacks available, and I think that's because I don't have the numbers, but my feeling is that a lot of schools will try to take transfer quarterbacks over high school guys. Um, so I find that we still have a good pool to pull from, and then in terms of our roster and our quarterback room and all that, like I'm a pretty transparent dude, uh, and we're pretty open about it, right? Like, yeah, you have a good year and you get $1 million job offer to go start at UW, you should go. Like you're gonna buy me lunch next time we meet, but you should go. You know, you get a $20,000 offer to go somewhere and be the backup. Like I disagree with that. I think that's a bad move. So we're pretty open about it, and I think that helps limit awkward conversations down the road.
Sure, that makes sense. Coach, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, so Steve, I'll let you get one
Yeah.
last shot in.
No, I appreciate it. You get 15 minutes in an indie session, spring ball, coach, what are some of the base fundamental drills, and what do you feel like you can correct out of a young quarterback in that opportunity during the spring?
Yeah, I think like a big question in recruiting is like, what can you coach and what can you fix, right? And you go back to the Tebow example, however many years ago, they're trying to fix his motion, and you're like, dude, you can't do it. Like, you can't do it. Maybe you can when they're seventh or eighth grade or whatever, but you can't. Like, that's not worth the battle. We talk feet, hips, and eyes. Um, rotational force and generating power that way. But I think simple things are drops, and that's an on there, no equipment drill. Focus on getting the back foot under the back hip and not skidding out of it, as we say, out of your punch drop. And then we'll use some agile bags, like a 3 agile bag deal, and moving across, and then I'll run by as a mock, shorter defensive end and have them rip up and deliver a ball, and then we'll do some escape stuff. I think those are 3 pretty easy ones that like directly translate, right? Like you're gonna have to move up in the pocket. You're gonna have to keep a good base. You're gonna have to get your back foot under you when you hit the top of your drop. Like all those are you're gonna have to escape from the pocket. Like all those are pretty clean and easy ones that you can see show up. I don't know if that answers it, but
Yeah, it's awesome.
I love it. Anything else, Steve?
I'm good.
I
All
appreciate it,
right.
guys. I mean, that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.